nice to have you join us today. So we just created this series just to give our customers the opportunity just to make the most of their investment in the Dimension products. And we are looking at different options, different facilities within the Dimension product suite that we can outline to give you a little bit of help to make your life a little bit easier. So we want this session to be as interactive as possible. If you wish to ask any questions, or if you wish to, know a little bit more about what we're talking about today, please do put any questions into the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself, I'm very happy to do that and just ask the questions directly. So we really want you to make the most of the sessions if you can. As I say, if you have got any questions, put them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them again, or we can have a Q&A session at the end. So as I say, we're just going to turn over to Graham, and he's just going to talk us through the session today, which is the use of metadata columns. And so with that, I will turn over to Graham and just let him start the presentation. I'll just make you presenter. There we go. And stop sharing my screen. Thanks, Graham.
Excellent. Thank you, Rachel. Yes, hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. My name is Graham Downs. I'm a senior software developer for the DWS Dimension team. We are the team responsible for the suite of products, which include SwifTest and LoadTest and Hub, and Focus and Analyze. I'm just going to talk you through briefly today the concept that we have of what we call metadata columns, also called tags or custom fields. So what you're looking at now, and hopefully you can see my screen, is the DWS Dimension SwifTest application. I have logged into our demo environment, and you can see that we have a number of projects. And if you look at the top of the screen, this is, well, at the grid of projects, at the top you'll see a list of columns. Most of them are pretty standard. This is the information that we capture sort of out of the box, name, description, owner, type, environment, tools release. These last two columns on the grid are not out of the box columns. They're what we call metadata columns. They are used to store any additional information that customers may need. We support these on projects, on scenarios and tests. Just a quick note, you'll see that this project I've got highlighted at the moment happens to be an Oracle Cloud Applications project. But just to let you know that metadata columns work across project types. Could be cloud apps, it could be Enterprise One, various tools releases of Enterprise One. If I were to go and click on the edit button for this particular project, what you will see is a form. You may be used to, this is how you edit a project. It will also be what comes up when you create a new project. And again, you'll see on this flyout at the bottom, these last two fields are metadata columns. So they're fully integrated. I'm going to drill down into this project now to show you how we can use metadata columns on projects or scenarios or tests. So here are a few scenarios under this project. And as you may see, we don't have any metadata columns set up for scenarios yet. So I'm going to go and create a few. If you click on your username in the top right-hand corner, this menu will pop up. If you then click Tools, one of the items you see will be Configure Metadata. Now, in order to see this item, to enable you to add or delete or basically maintain metadata columns, you need to be a member of the SwifTest product admin role in your organization. So if you aren't a member of that role, and you need to be one, just pop an email to the help desk and they'll be able to help you out. If I click on this now, this is the interface for maintaining these columns. As you can see, we only have 2 at the moment, and they're both project columns. So I would like to add a scenario column. I'll click this little create button at the bottom. Create a new metadata column. What type do I want it to be? It can be a project type, a scenario type, or a test type. For this example, I'm going to use a scenario type. This sequence is a number from 0 to infinity. This controls the order that the column is going to appear in the grids and in the edit and add flyouts. So I'm going to make this one 10 to make some space for extra ones. And I'm going to call it category. And if you like, you can give it a description just to remind you what the column is for. And you can make it active or inactive. If it's inactive, it's a way of hiding it from the scenarios from everywhere, but it still exists as opposed to deleting it. You can deactivate it now and activate it later. I'm going to add one. It's now in the grid. It's a scenario column called category. I'm going to add another one. And this one, to show you how the sequence number works, it's a scenario type. Let's make this one 5. And let's call it the D number. I don't know what D number is, but it's going to be dependent on your organization. And the whole point is that you can store extra info that's relevant to only you and your organization. So now we have 2 scenario columns, one called category and one called D number. You'll see the D number has a sequence lower. So even though it's alphabetically later, it is going to show before category on the interface. If I click on this tests icon to go back to tests, and I drill back down into this project, you'll see these scenarios again. You'll see now there are 2 more columns, D number and category. In the order that I specified I wanted D number first. And if I edit one of these scenarios, 2 new fields down here. These are the metadata columns for scenarios. And let's make the D number 255 and the category blue. And save that. And as soon as the grid refreshes, you'll see that the D number and category are populated on the grid. I just want to specify a category for a different scenario. Let's call this one green, product development. And now what you will see, because these are just columns like any other in the grid, although they're custom columns or tags, they can be manipulated like any other columns in the grid. So I can click here to sort this whole grid by the D number or the category, or I can click here to filter and say, show me the blue one or the green one, or both blue and green, or only those that don't have values. If I drill further down into one of these scenarios, these are the tests inside the scenario. We don't, again, there are no metadata columns for tests, but the principle is exactly the same. I would go into configure metadata. Let's create one for test. Let's call that test type. Back to the tests view. Drilling down. And you'll see exactly the same concept. There's a new column there called test type. Again, if I instead want to create a brand new scenario rather than editing an existing one, I can just click create. This is the standard scenario screen. Let's call it Community Cafe Scenario. And you can see these metadata columns have pulled through, so I can specify them as I add scenarios as well. If I decide that I would like to hide one of these columns, for example, the D number, I don't want to delete it because I still want to keep all of the data, but it's not used at the moment. I don't want any of my staff to see it. I can edit it and I can uncheck active. And what will now happen is you'll see the D number column is missing, and it's missing from the edit flyout as well. So it's an easy way to disable or deactivate a column where you don't want to remove all the data, but you just want to decommission it for now. Maybe you'll bring it back later. And well, that's the gist of metadata columns. Short and sweet. I wonder, do we have any questions or comments? Rachel, I haven't been monitoring the chat.
No.
Have you seen any come in?
No, if anyone wants to submit a question either in the chat or in the questions box, which is just should appear, please do, or I can unmute everybody, and I'll just unmute everybody. And if you wanted to unmute yourself and ask a question, you can. Otherwise, that was, if that was clear, then again, we're happy with that. So just have a little time just to see if anybody does want to submit a question in the chat.
Yeah, hello, this is Lars from Coloplast. Hi.
Hi, Lars.
Hi.
I have a question. Can you search across the projects? Let's say you have a category on a scenario, but you want to see across projects that category.
Not as yet. That is on the roadmap to search all, for example, all scenarios and all projects to find a scenario with a particular category.
Yeah.
At the moment, no, but it is on the roadmap, but I can't tell you when it'll be available.
Will the search be from the web portal, or will it be from within the application?
I'm not sure what the plan is, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
I would imagine it would probably be both eventually. I'm just not sure what the priority is, what will come first.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks, Lars. Anyone else? I mean, we're, again, very happy just to take any general questions you feel, or just some little pointers if you feel you want to understand anything a little further.
Perhaps I can also show back in the configure metadata screen. In this example, we have very few, but we did envision some clients might have many of these metadata columns across types. So another thing that you can do when you're maintaining metadata columns is you can filter. I want to see only the project types or only the scenario types to help you navigate. You can also group them. So I can drag the type column up here and it groups them nicely. And here, Lars, here you can search. Full text search, show me all columns containing the word cat. And you can see there's 2 project columns and 1 scenario column. I'm not sure if that's useful to anybody.
Yes, that is a good way to find what categories you have. For me, I can imagine that when we start to use this, and we get all our scenarios categorized, then we will have the scenarios across projects. So let's say that I want to see all finance scenarios. Then I can have finance scenarios in 5 different projects.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll definitely mention that to the team. I know, as I say, I know we have something like that on the roadmap, but you know, we chat about it to the team and get you more details about exactly what the plan is, and perhaps even get it bumped up the priority list. Although I can't promise anything.
No, it's not on our priority list. It is now that I see it, I think we will probably start using it at a point in time. But if we start to use it, then I know for sure that a question will come up how to search for what, scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. That's really useful. It's great to hear how clients use or intend to use things.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. Good, thank you. Yeah, if anybody else wants to ask a question, we're happy to take it. Or if you feel like you've seen enough, gone over the metadata columns, then no more questions. I'm happy to end the session. Thanks, Graham. Thanks for just running us through that, and thanks everybody for attending today. It was really great that you could join us.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, just
Thanks
bye.
a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.